So, but today, I've got my friend Steven Weinberger on, who is quite the sales guy. He just, he sees an opportunity, he goes for it, he networks. Um, Steve, how long have you been a part of insurance?
Since 2009.
2009. So he's not a career person like that's been doing it for longer than I've been alive, like Dean. Um, Steven started in 2009. So what made you decide to get into health insurance? I mean, you came from a very different background.
No. So uh, I it was only because I needed a job at the time. So I had my own business, and it the economy at the time was not very good for my business, and I went through a divorce, and so just had the nec- the necessary means to keep my lights on. I was presented with an opportunity to get my insurance license, and I said, why not at that time? And it's actually one of the top one or two best decisions I ever made in my life. But it just fell in my lap.
So why did you stay? I mean, I would say probably a good chunk of us, it was an opportunity that showed up because that was me. I just got invited to be an office manager at an insurance company and went, all right.
Why did I stay?
Yeah. So why are you still doing it? 'Cause it's
Um,
not just a job anymore to you. So
no. So, one of the things I always tell new agents, do we have new agents on the line here or within the
what,
last year? Okay.
yep.
So I didn't look at it as a job, even from day one. I looked at it as a business opportunity. I was a self-employed person pretty much all my life. So I one of the good things about this, even though I was kicking and screaming that I didn't want to do it, the opportunity presented that I was still self-employed. And so being self-employed, um, I didn't have to ask for a raise. Okay. So every time I wanted a raise, I just figured out that all I have to do is get another new client. And I got my raise for the week, for the month, for the year.
Right.
Uh, so and I still had the control of my own destiny as far as time. But with that said, I always tell people the great thing about being a independent agent is that the time I could do what I want whenever I want, and the worst thing about being an agent is I can do whatever I want whenever I want.
Right.
Okay, so you have to have the discipline to be able to say these are my office hours. Okay, whatever they are, 8 to 5, 10 to 7. I work weekends, whatever it is. But the times that you um, decide that that's my office hours, those are the times that I have to work. Okay, so if I worked for McDonald's and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I said to my manager, "Hey, I gotta run an errand," right? I would get fired because I can't just leave the job. So you kind of have to look in the mirror at yourself and say, I'm going to fire myself if I don't keep to those strict business hours. Okay. And so that's one of the best or the first of pieces of advice I give to new agents or people trying to get going in their business, in their own business.
It's managing the time, which it is. I mean, when you have a punch in clock, it's much easier when you're by yourself. As you said, it's the best and it's the worst part of being
Yes.
self-employed.
So to answer your question, is that when I realized that I could do all that and create a business opportunity for myself, and so as I gained some experience and I worked harder, I started to make more sales. And so, the object for all of us is to help our client. That's the number one. But number two, don't apologize for wanting to make a lot of money.
Do you think new agents struggle with that?
I think it's the
And
hardest part of starting out is starting out. Okay. And I always tell new agents that you have to have a goal of making your first sale in the first 30 days. I don't care what it is, a dental vision plan, a health plan, a life insurance plan, but it's really important to be able to get on the scoreboard within the first 30 days because it's going to give you more confidence that you know that you can make a sale. It'll give you the experience of going through the quoting and the application process. And it'll give you that also the experience of looking in your bank account when you get a commission, right? Um, so so it's really important to be able to do that.
is
Uh,
yourself, does that count if your first sale is yourself?
of course, of course, you should always, well, again, when you're starting out, I may not have as much money as I want, and I might say to myself, you know, I don't, I really don't want to spend the extra money on making a sale for myself. Okay. But let me tell you that depending upon the plans that you concentrate on, I bought plans for myself when when I didn't really have the extra money. But when you go to your clients and you say, hey, guess what? Not only am I the agent, but also I'm a customer. And I pull out my card, um, that gives people or customers more trusting of yourself as an agent because not only do you sell it, but you also are a policy holder. And I can't tell you how many more sales I made because I whipped out my Manhattan Life card or and say, yeah, here I'm also a client. And so people say, okay, I'll go with you. And so I made a lot more money for that because I was a client. So don't ever not feel be kind of cheap and just say, well, I don't really want to spend the extra $100 for a premium when I, kind of struggling because it'll um, help your business down the line.
It'll pay back.
Yes.
My daughter has more life insurance than she will ever need because every time I got contracted with a new life carrier, I'm like, ooh, it's $20 for my kid because she was little. But same thing. I bought stuff, and when somebody's like, well, what do you think? And they're kind of like, and you're like, yeah, I have it. I have this gap policy, this accident policy, this
Right.
insurance. Yeah.
But I mean, that's one way of doing it. That's just my advice. And if you don't want to do that in the beginning, I understand. But um, there are so many people when you open up the door, you stumble upon, unless you live on a farm somewhere, um, that you want to develop a brand as your local health insurance, your local life insurance agent, whatever it is that you're selling, because one of the mistakes people have is that especially people that have multiple states is that how do I find clients in a state that I don't live in? And that's challenging. But if I could start out as kind of the neighborhood expert, um, it, in the beginning, I could find a lot of people who need my services because if I go into a room of 100 people, I could sell something to everybody. If it's again a dental plan, a life insurance plan, a health insurance plan, what Medicare, whatever it is, I if I was standing in front of everybody in front of the room and I told everybody what I did, I virtually know that somebody would need my services. So the amount of people, leads and customers that you have just in your neighborhood area and your zip code, there's a whole lot of people that need your help.
So that's one of the reasons I brought you on, because I've seen you made a sell in the gym at the hotel. Like, you know, Todd talks about, taking you to a restaurant and all of a sudden you came back, you had like, two ladies. So what are you listening for? What are you doing with your local people that are face to face? What are you asking them? What are you hearing them that makes you approach them?
Well, so in the beginning, every if you don't know if you don't understand your products that you're selling, you're not going to have the confidence to want to talk to people. So the first thing that I would stress is that whatever you're selling, you need to know the playbook. So you need to know how the summary of benefits work. Okay. So with that said, you have to be motivated by something. In the beginning, when I first started, I was motivated because I didn't want to not have money. Okay. So what was my pain point? To talk to people, strangers that I might not want to talk to, because you have to look at it as, like, if I go to a party and I don't talk to anybody, they're going to think I'm weird, right?
Yep.
What's wrong with that guy? He doesn't want to say hello. He doesn't want to small talk. And so if I don't go out in the world and start talking to people, what's worse? Not talking to somebody because I'm afraid, or am I afraid not having enough money to pay my rent at the end of the month? Okay, so you have to have that, something has to self-motivate you. Some people are doing it for their family, some people are doing it for themselves, some people are doing it because they see a business opportunity, but you have to you have to have that confidence. So um you know I mean, people laugh at me when I say this, but I liken insurance sales to dating. Okay, so if I go to on a social event and I want to meet somebody to go on a date with, and I go up to the first person and I ask them, hey, would you like to go on a date? And they say no. Does that mean that I go home? No, I just keep asking, right? You're going to find somebody you can connect with at some point. So it's the same thing with insurance sales. I may not connect with that first person, and someone may say no to me, but that's okay. I don't take it personally. I'm going to go find that second person I'm going to talk to. And so you just have to be yourself. So like when you talk about the story, I went out to a restaurant with a friend of mine, and I found something in common, right, with somebody by talking to them. And so then at some point, you ask a, an open-ended question, right? I love open-ended questions. So my open-ended question for health insurance or insurance in general is, if I met Chris at the gas pump and I say, hey, how you doing? And it's a beautiful day out here. Hey, by the way, how's your Obamacare today? Okay. Well, I'm going to get an answer, right? Because I asked an open-ended question. I don't like Obama. I don't like health insurance. It's too expensive. I don't have it. Okay. So the person who says I don't have it, or I pay too much money, I would say, well, boy, you're just glad that you met me, because here's my card. But I don't just say, here's my card, because if I just give my card and hoping that they're going to call me, chances are they probably won't. I'm going to ask them for their information. Is it okay if I call you tomorrow to talk about this? And so I didn't miss out on an opportunity because I just didn't get their telephone number or their contact information. But
And
again, you have to have an opening, right?
what's the worst that would happen at the gas station? The person's like, no, you're weird. And they drive away. So what?
Yeah, well, I already know I'm weird, so it doesn't matter if they say I'm weird. But the thing about it is, it didn't hurt my feelings, okay? Because as I'm pumping gas with somebody, there's two other people pumping gas at the same time. Or I'm online at the Kroger. Um, you know, I learned from other agents as well the power of the 3 foot rule, right? And you want to talk to people in the 3 feet of you. Uh, I knew I knew this guy who sold life insurance, and so he was. Do I? Oh yeah. So you can somebody's asking Rosalind.
Yep.
Rosalind's asking this question about do I use something? Well,
Yep.
you could have a notebook in your car, right? If you do that, or you have a phone, right? I could just put somebody's telephone number in there. Um, so yes, well, if I'm around, if I go to a party or a social event, usually I carry my notebook with me. Okay, or ask for the business card. So that's another way. But going back to my story, so this guy, for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, I used to see his name on a leaderboard for life insurance. And so I asked him what he did. And so what he did was he kind of stalked people at Walmart. He would walk through Walmart and he would find a mother with a little baby, and we would go up and say, "Oh, that's a beautiful baby. And by the way, have you thought about college fund for your baby?" Or no, of course not. Well, so I offer life insurance. And here's my card. Can I have your information? And that's how we found customers for life insurance. And so again, um, everybody has to have a strategy, and you have to find what you feel comfortable with doing, but you also have to find multiple streams of different activities. Because if you just do one activity and it doesn't work out, well, then, I don't have anything to back up. But you have to find 2 or 3 or 4 activities to do really around at the same time to as you're starting out. And that could be networking, that could be the 3 foot rule, that could be walking and talking, meaning you pick out 2 or 3 shopping centers and you walk through into stores and say, by the way, I was in a neighborhood. Um, I just wanted to give you my card. I could, you have to have a elevator speech, right? You have to have that 10-second elevator speech to be able to explain to somebody what you do. Well, I'm, one of the top health insurance agents. I could save you up to 50, 60% on your premium. I know I'm bothering you, but here's my card. And if I can help you, give me a call. And then as you're walking out, you turn around and you see what that guy does with your card. If he throws in the garbage can, that's not really a lead. But if he puts it in his pocket, card, then I would kind of follow up with him because I know where he is. Okay.
So speaking of processes, so I have kind of found one of the things you do trade shows, right? You've got the booth and go
Yes.
out to, is it trade shows? Is it community shows, or is it anything? Because Stephen is one of those ones who has a booth, and people, it's a great way to have people come to him. So
Well, that's one of my favorite ways of meeting people. Okay, so this is my big tip of the day. Okay, you have to figure out who your customer is. So when you're starting out and your FMO says, well, we can get you a contract for Medicare and health insurance and this and that and life insurance. Okay, and then you feel overwhelmed because I don't know where to start. I don't know. I have multiple carriers now, and I don't know where, who my customer is. And I guess everybody's my customer. Well, in a sense, they are, but when to move forward, you really should just try to find one or two of those carriers of those products and figure out who your customer is. So my customer is a self-employed, self-insured, a small business owner, someone on Cobra, someone who is a bridge to Medicare, someone who's 60 years old, can almost see Medicare, and they don't want to spend a lot of money for premiums. Okay, so I sell one or two type of products, and so I'm concentrating on those people. And so when I decide where I'm going to do my booth or table, my exhibiting table, I'm going to try to do those events at those type of places where I'm going to meet those people, self-employed people. So people who are 1099, where would I find 1099? I could join um, a, um, a chamber of commerce. I could join a business group, okay, that are all like-minded at the same time. If I want to start selling to hairdressers, hairdressers have conferences or exhibiting things, once or twice a year. So I would schedule to find out how I could sign up for to be a vendor at one of those events. So in the beginning, you could go to locally, there's arts festivals and all those things you see in the weekends that you may go just walk around because it's a nice day and you want to spend some time outdoors and walk around with people and get an ice cream or something. Well, when you're walking around those type of things, events, you should be asking those are all small business owners. So you should be asking for their business card. Okay. So you can follow up with them. And or you can get a table. Those are reasonably priced, $100, a couple $100. So you can get a table, and instead of you walking around, you could talk to people who are walking around like you would. So that's certainly a way where you can meet a lot of people, and gain a lot of contacts.
Do you use the ask me about Medicare button or a shirt?
Yeah, you could wear that. Again, I I don't have it on me today, but typically I wear a polo shirt that I made up that has my logo, my health insurance doctor logo. So I typically wear that during daytime hours, and if I'm out and about, people ask me what I do. You can wear a button, you know, ask me about Medicare, ask me about Obamacare, or wherever it is. Um, you know, you have to be proactive. So you have to have, you want to brand yourself, right? So you want people to know who you are, but you also have to have the basic stuff when you're starting out. I'm not a proponent to spend a lot of money right away, but you need to have a name tag. Okay. You need to have uh business cards. So when I train agents are starting out and they buy 250 business cards in a box, and a month later I ask them how many cards you have left, and they say I have 249 cards left. Well, what good is those cards if you're not handing them out? I'm a firm believer, like one of the activities that I tell people, you have to ask a minimum of 25 people a day about their insurance. If it's by calling people, leads, if it's walking and talking, but 25 people is the minimum number of people that you should be asking if they need life insurance, health insurance, Medicare, whatever it is, what you're trying to sell. But again, going back to me, so once I figure out who my client is, I concentrate on my marketing strategies to network, send newsletters or letters to those type of people, do my social, I go to social events where those type of people are. So I'm just putting myself in the center of the people that I believe need my help.
It's true. If you want hairdressers, which are a great connection because they have a lot of people sitting in their chair, you're not going to go to Home Depot. You're going to go to Sally's Beauty Mart. You're going to find out what they're a part of.
No,
So
but if you, I did this in the beginning. Uh, so the people who are the landscapers, the roofers, the people like that, what's the best way to meet those people is to be in front of Home Depot at 7 o'clock in the morning,
yep.
handing out your business cards. Go to the gas stations, the racetracks, the quick trips, the Buc-ee's, whatever. In the morning, everybody goes to those places to get coffee and cigarettes and newspapers and whatever it is. Fill up gas. You can meet a lot of people like that. See, someone says,
So Rosalind wants to know, because I say this out loud for the people that listen.
okay,
Stephen, I know you've built a large email list of several thousand. Can you tell us how you built it and the type of content you send?
sure. So by joining organizations, they're going to give you the names of the members. So if I join Chamber of Commerce, I could have 250 or 500 people there. And so because I now have access to that information, I just download it to my CRM. Okay. So the more organizations you join, at least for me, I gain more people. But I would go to events and I would get people, I would give away a bottle of wine if you put your card in my box. Okay. So by going to enough networking events, you're going to gain a lot of cards. When I first started, I would have bags of cards, literally bags of cards. I never really did anything with them. So one day I said, I better put them into a CRM, because then I'm just wasting my own time. But yeah, so going out and going to a lot of networking events, um, by gaining those cards, or you can go, you know, I guess you could go online and go to an organization and just decide that those are the names I want to pick off the websites.
So what kind of content do you send them?
So at least once a month I do a newsletter. Once a month I try to do just a regular letter where I just highlight something. Um, I just sent out the other day on my newsletter talking about the different changes of Medicare and health insurance that's coming up for open enrollment. Um, I might just do something like a recipe or just something non-insurance, just to break it up. Um, so, I just kind of I evaluate some of the newsletters that I get from other companies, and I just take a look at, say, oh, that might be interesting for me to put on my newsletter. But again, you want to touch base. The whole point of having um, a number of people in your
Kind of the database?
marketing. Yeah, my database is to be able to just touch base. So I would start out if I have 100 people, I would communicate with those people. It took me a couple of years to get, I have like 25,000 names in my database. But it's just a matter of, that's one of my jobs that I do is to keep
Mm-hmm.
my database.
One of the things Steven's really good at as well, and he and I actually co-spoke at a conference, 4 or 5 years ago, whenever that was, it's pre-COVID, is layering. And I talk about that all the time and putting multiple coverages. Steven does not just sell Medicare or just marketplace. Steven's putting accident and critical illness and cancer and whatever it is. So what's your process to introduce people to more than just their main
Okay.
insurance?
So when I build a plan, I'm building it for whoever I'm building it for. I'm building it with myself in mind. Okay. How would I want to plan? Okay. And so I don't even ask people for their budgets, particularly at first. Okay. Because I have a variety of plans to sell. So if I just sell one ACA plan, there's good, bad, and ugly to that plan. Okay, so I want to focus on the ugly parts to an ACA plan. If it's a high deductible, a high max out of pocket, dental and vision, um, a cancer plan. What would happen if something happened to me, and how would I will be able to do that? So, I tell clients that, well, let me say this: insurance sales is permission based. Okay, so one of the biggest mistakes, and I did this in the beginning because again, I didn't really know anything, is that if I focus on that one ACA plan, the one Medicare plan, okay, and I do a great job upselling it and describing it, and I gave a price for that plan, and this person says, yes, I want to buy that. And then I say to myself, well, oops, I didn't talk about the other products that I wanted to talk to. So then I would say, oh, by the way, I want to talk to you about some other products. That customer is already done with you. Because if it wasn't important, if it was important, you would have told me that way before the other, before I started to talk about and try to close you on that one insurance product. Okay, so I I have to ask permission from my client about, because I'm going to talk about a whole lot of things. So how I position is by saying, hey Chris, today I'm going to talk about building a corporate style benefit plan that would include health insurance and a number of other products that you will need, because the one product I'm going to talk to you about has a lot of holes in it. It's like a Swiss cheese plan. So I want to fill up your holes with some really good products. And is that okay, Chris? You say yes.
Absolutely.
So now I could talk about anything I want. And so I'll say, today I'm going to build a core plan with the ACA plan or the Medicare plan, but I'm also going to talk about some other supplemental plans that you'll need. So like with ACA, I also sell a plan that it's a gap plan. So if somebody goes in a hospital overnight, they're going to have a plan that is going to pay a minimum of $6,350 to help pay your deductible, and that only costs maybe $30-40 a month more. Okay, so when I marry these pieces together, it makes sense for the customer, and even though the customer may have budget in mind, if I do the right way, people are going to trust me, and they're going to be able to say yes, because I actually put together a plan that makes more sense than just to have one piece of the puzzle. So going back, again, I build a plan like I would want for myself. So for example, Chris, if I talk about a cancer supplement, and so they could start at a $5,000 policy that might be $10, and typically people need at least $40,000 in cancer policy, because that's what NBC Dateline told me to in a report that people for first-time cancer patients need at least $40,000 in out of pocket to cover out of pocket costs. So if I just focus on the $10 one, or $5,000 for $10, and I sell that to somebody, and they got cancer, how long will that $5,000 last? Not very long. So I'm really wasting their time and money by offering the rock bottom. Although I did ask, and I did make a sale for cancer, but I really didn't put my customer in a good position. So I wouldn't want to do that for myself. So why would I want to do that for my customer?
Right.
So I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that's what I do. So again, I never sell by price, but I sell by value.
Right, and that's I think the difference, because I have an agent who he's always trying to find the cheapest, and he was selling it to himself because he's broke and he's cheap. And I'm like, no, 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 you're worried about the price, but you're saying, no, 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 what's the product? And if I was in this situation, what would I want? I want a $50,000 cancer policy. I want to not have to worry about income coming in. It's not the price. The client will tell you what they can afford after, but you're showing them what they can afford way beyond just the premium amount.
So I liken if Chris, you've bought a car before, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you go to the car dealership, and before you go, you psych yourself up by saying, gee, I know when I go in the back room and the manager, they're gonna ask me all kinds of stuff that I perceive I don't want, right? Okay, so if I'm a car salesman and I don't talk about, I think there are some of those upcharges that make sense to me, like um, a, a flat tire deal where you can get a free tire, or right, a replacement. I like that. So if I was the car salesman, and instead of worrying about the price, I would just say casually, as my customer's kicking a tire, right? By the way, we're going to talk to you about a replacement package. I think that's a really good idea to have. I've given I've given that person some time to think about it, to mull it over their mind before they go back in the back, whereas somebody's just jamming down, here, you got to make a decision in 2 seconds whether or not you want this and that. And you feel icky and pressured by, their manager. But I don't do that, because I could do that with health insurance, but I want to throw all of these open-ended questions out. Okay, so Chris, if Dateline NBC said you need $40,000 a minimum of money to cover your cancer out of pocket costs, how would you pay for that? Okay. Again, I'm not jamming it down their throat. I'm just asking an open-ended question. When I build a plan and I have $40,000 as a minimum, well, they understand why I have that. And they understand that it's going to cost a few more dollars. But again, I'm not deciding for them.
Right.
Okay. And that's another problem of new agents, that they look at people and say, well, they don't have enough money, or they don't really want it. No, you're deciding for them. Your job is to offer these products. Okay.
Yep.
And it's okay to be able to sell a plan that might have 4 or 5 additional policies. Okay. Well, you're really, again, I would be proud of myself, because I'm really helping my client, because in a catastrophic event, I know that they're covered. And that will happen to you. You'll have people will call you up who found out they had breast cancer, or they had a heart attack, or they had a car accident. And for all the times they felt like they're wasting their premium dollars on stuff that they'll never use, they'll thank you for being, to say, hey, I really appreciate you, building a comprehensive plan for me. And then again, on top of that, you're making more money. So there's nothing wrong with that.
And I said that before. I get more calls saying thank you for selling me the ancillary products than I ever get for thank you for selling me the marketplace or, Medicare, because there's a million people who sell Medicare. There's a million people who sell a marketplace plan or whatever. They will thank you for selling them something that protects them when they need it. So
Sure.
Stephen, there is a question. So Aaron wants to know, do you use an intake sheet to keep notes throughout the process? For example, today you signed up for medical, dental, vision, and accident. Your total package is. Do you give them something to?
Yeah. So, Aaron, I'm old school. I'm old. Okay. So I've been doing the same thing for years. And if somebody will look at my book and say that's all you do, now I'm going to show you what I do, but on the flip side, if an agent a client calls me up from a year or two ago, I have to kind of figure out where my notes are. Okay. But I certainly would have a CRM. I would want to do that if I'm starting out as a new agent. Chris, I'm sure you could recommend some CRMs so that because Christina George says you must have a CRM.
That's
Okay,
right.
so you have to so you can have those notes in there. But like I just use a
You have to pull it
five ring
closer to your
binder,
face.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and um uh so here I just make these notes.
You have to
Okay,
pull it closer to your face for the camera to not white it out. I learned that last week.
okay, well, yeah. So I'm sorry, I have because of my background.
Yeah.
So I just have their basic information. One of the things that you must use in the beginning, and Chris I'm sure can help you, is to have a fact finder. Okay. So where you could jot down all this information and have some relatively easy questions to ask because you're controlling the presentation. And so by having a fact finder with some questions, already in the fact finder, you're asking the right questions. Okay. Um, so I definitely would want to use that. Um, and for each fact finder, you could put a file and put it into your filing cabinet with your customer name on it as you're building a clientele. But if you're doing this for a long time, you're going to gain a lot of customers. So you don't want a lot of files. So doing it digitally is probably the smart thing to do. Now, I will also um, make one more point, and then it's almost the top of the hour, and I have to go to another meeting at 11 o'clock. Is this when I first started, I was nervous going out and doing a presentation to people, and then as I mentioned to you in the beginning, you need to be as much as an expert with your products, to be able to describe and answer questions. But in the beginning, you don't know squat about this. And so the first couple times I went out on my own and didn't really know what to ask, I messed up. Okay. Some people might say, well, I mean, I'm not going to do this anymore. But what I did was I figured out what I was doing wrong for me. And so I made some changes to my presentation. And on the third presentation, I realized that if I took a brochure and I read the brochure word for word, I sounded like I was an expert. And so I did that. And guess what? I made a sale. And the fourth and fifth and sixth time, again, I read those brochures word for word. Well, at some point, that all that information you're reading out loud will start making sense to you. And so whenever that point where your sixth or seventh or 10th time you're out, you don't need the brochure anymore. You could just kind of highlight it because you have your own word tracks at that point, or you just adopted what the brochure said. You at that point, you're going to start making more sales just by sounding like you know what you're talking about. Okay, so have a fact finder, read the brochure to people, be genuine. If you don't know the answer, just tell them, you'll get back to them. Um, chances are you're probably not going to sell it that first time. So you probably have to follow up. Okay. Don't sound, uh, um, don't, especially when you're starting out and you need money, don't sound desperate. Okay. Don't sound like you have to make that sale. Okay. You
No
just want to
pressure.
go out and just be yourself. Okay. Imagine that person you're talking to is you want to get a date with them. Okay. You don't want to be an obnoxious jerk because Chris is going to kick me to the curb if I'm going to be that person. You want to be, um, uh, I manipulate I know I'm manipulating the presentation. I know what to say, when to say it, but I still sound like, oh, shucks. If you don't want to buy it, we'll still be friends. Okay. Um, and you're just trying to build that rapport because think about this. If I'm meeting Chris for the first time, it's just because somebody recommended me or I just met her and I'm talking to her about insurance and she has a need. Okay. And I sound obnoxious. She's not going to give me her social security number, her bank account number, because those are all the things that we're going to need to do an application. But if I could build some rapport with her and make her feel comfortable with me, okay, in that first 30 minutes, and I get to the point where I explain the plan and I'll say, by the way, if we take out the price, do you have any questions about the plan I just built? And they'll say no. And I'll say, okay, well, are you ready to move forward with this plan? At that point, she'll say yes, or let me think about it. But as I gain experience and confidence, I go into my presentations now thinking that it's a one-time close.
Yep.
Okay. And so at some point where you can build your closing ratio to 50% of the time that you meet somebody, right? So if you have one, and one other thing too, this is all in relation. If I went to work in that McDonald's that we talked about a half hour ago, and I worked 5 days, but it was payday, and my boss only gave me a check for one day. You would be mad, right? Like, where's the other 4 days? Okay. And so when you have your own business and you're a business person and you don't make a sale every day, you're working for free those other days that you're not making sales, right? And so it's hard to make a sale every day. I just unrealistic in the beginning, but you want to make sure that you want to have enough money at the end of the month to be able to pay your bills. So you have to figure out if I need $1,000 for that month, you have to figure out how many sales you need and what you're selling is going to translate into making enough money to pay your bills. So if I sell health insurance and I make a sale that's $300, then I need 3 sales at least to break even. So I need to make a sale every week. And so at some point, you want to have that confidence in yourself that you can make that that sale as many times as you can during the week. To make that, at least to make your overhead. But at
Right.
some point, you want to say, hey, I want to make $100,000, so I need to make more sales. And so the more people that you can close on the first time, then you can just go, you don't have to waste your time following up with them. If that
And
makes sense.
honestly, we live in an industry where they come to us asking for this. I mean, they're asking you as the expert. And if you say, here's my health, and you walk away, that you're not the expert. Show them the health, show them their options, their accident, the critical illness, the cancer policies, all of those things. They want to know about it. That's why they're showing up. I mean, health insurance, really, we should have the best closing rates there is. Aaron, I do personally, I use a sheet. This is the one I use. I've been using this one for a long time. I put their name, the main carrier, what the amount is, the secondary gap insurance, accident protection, critical illness, put the name of it, how much it costs. I have a signature for them to sign if they're not going to buy it. The dental, if they get dental and vision only, life insurance, and it just calculates it right here, and then my name's there. It's not hard. I made that on Adobe. So there, you can handwrite it. You can have a form sitting right next to you that then you just handwrite it. In fact, one of my agents, that's what he does. He's not very tech savvy. So I appreciate you, Stephen. I got, like 7, 8 points that I'm going to put together when I send this out, but learn your product. The more you know, the more confident you'll be. What is your motivation? What is it that you need to do? And if you lose this job and you're going to go homeless, that's kind of some motivation. But maybe it's, what is your motivation? Be yourself. I'll tell you, we live in a world that people want real people. My favorite thing to do when I go out is sit in the hotel lot at the bar and start talking to the people that are on their cell phone. Hey, what are you here for? Pretty soon everybody's got their phone down. They're all talking. Like, people want actual interaction. Don't take it personally. As Steven said, you're going to get no's. Oh, well, so what? Find multiple ways to connect, networking, events, the 3-foot rule, whatever it is. You have to do more than one. Pick your customers, that will help you. You can't serve them all, but it's not like you're going to turn anyone away. Sorry, you're not my niche, but that will help you narrow it down and focus. And the best one, and I never thought of it this way until Steven said it, but it's true. Ask permission. Can I show you what I have for you? And show the holes that the marketplace has. So, there is holes. That ER copay at $1,500 is a lot of money. There's no max out of pocket when they decide to go out of network with some of those PPOs. If you're selling a PPO because they can go out of network, there's no max. Well, then you better be offering that cancer critical illness, because that's probably why they would go out of the network. So you're doing the right thing by offering these. And I do think you said, Stephen, one sale in 30 days. I think you could do that with layering. I'm going to get an accident policy. I'm going to offer it, and I'm going to get that on top of. All right, now you did it, and now it's standard. All right, now I'm going to work on critical illness. I'm going to sell a critical illness with the accident in the next 30 days. All right, I'm going to sell, don't, give yourself goals. And you're going to protect people when they need it the most. Any
Yeah.
last questions? I mean,
one other thing,
yep.
when you're talking to clients and you make a mistake, they don't know you're making a mistake. Okay. So don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard if you go out and don't make sales the first couple times, because you're just learning, right? You're just learning this for the first time, and just keep doing it until you meet that right person, and it was going to say yes, and they're going to appreciate you. And then maybe, you don't know, but maybe you want to find influencers, right? Someone who can influence other people, and to send you referrals. I just got a call earlier today from somebody in New York that somebody told them about me, and they called me. So you never know where your referrals are going to come, but just do your best. If you need some help, Chris could I'll forward you my information. I'm happy to help. If you go on Facebook, do they know about our Facebook page in North American?
North American, some people do.
Okay, but with that said, there's a woman named Galen Hendricks. She's the queen of the bundle.
Queen of the bundle. Yep.
Okay, and you could search for her on Chris, you might want to put in a chat box. Search for her on Facebook and join her group. And she teaches people how to stack as well.
That's
So,
where I heard it the first time, was from Galen at a
yes,
conference. And it just was like, oh, duh, this is what I'm missing.
yes. So, but be confident, love what you do, be the best person you can, have fun with it, and at some point, you're going to be the best person you can be.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for checking in. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate you coming here and joining and teaching
Okay.
and our friendship. I appreciate
I don't know if I taught anybody anything, but again, if you could just get one nugget from me and one nugget from Chris and one nugget from someone else, then at some point, you're going to be on this call helping Chris as well with other agents.
Would love that. All right, there's I put the Facebook link for Galen and for the North American group for those who are not in it. I know quite a few are. It's a great group, easy to ask questions. I would say it's one of the nicest groups. You do not get blasted. There is no like, you're an idiot for asking that question. It's one of the nicest groups. So if you have a Medicare question, a life insurance marketplace, you'll actually get nice people. They will not blast you like some of the other groups.
How many people were we talking to today?
Today we had at one point 33 had jumped on.
Well, great. Well,
and then I don't know how many will watch on YouTube, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're able to reach out to people. So, but you guys have a great day. I have to run.
Let's do.
And Chris, anytime you need me, let me know.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and I will talk to you next week.